Welcome, everyone, to the Financial Security for All Community of Practice monthly webinar. We're glad you're here today, and we're really pleased to have with us Brenda Long. Brenda is a senior extension educator with Michigan State University, and she's going to be talking to us today about a program she developed called Get Ready, Get Set, Get Going, a guide to money management. So this educational program has 12 lessons and a facilitator guide. It's based on action-oriented strategies and tools to support adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities. It's intended for staff and volunteers of community service organizations who work with this audience. And the curriculum intends to build participant confidence and a sense of control when dealing with money management. And it covers topics like record keeping, saving, managing a spending plan, protection, consumer protection, bill paying, and credit, and some other topics. Many of you know Brenda, who is a longtime member of our community. She's based in Iona County since 2002, and her program is focused on health, financial capacity, and home ownership. So please join me in welcoming Brenda Long.
Thank you so much, Laura. All right, that was a great introduction, and I'm excited to be here with you today talking about this new curriculum around money management. Okay, so Laura already introduced me, so please feel free to get in touch with me through email if you have questions to follow up with after the webinar. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. So in the chat, if you'll please mention your name, what's your extension role? Are you a county educator? Are you a campus specialist? And also, what's your interest in this financial education curriculum? Okay, so according to the National Disability Institute report, people with disabilities include 19% of the U.S. population, and they face many economic challenges, including banking status, access, sustainability, growth, and financial well-being. Nearly half of adults with disabilities are unbanked or underbanked. Nearly half have no credit, and 2/3 do not save for unexpected expenses. Another national financial capability study found that people with disabilities have difficulty making ends meet, planning ahead, managing financial products, and making informed financial decisions. The Americans with Disability Act prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life to make sure they have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. This includes equal opportunity to build the knowledge and skills to make informed financial decisions, access to financial education and coaching, affordable and accessible financial products and services, inclusion in career pathways and employment, and the ability to save and build assets. So this curriculum was based on Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory, which has ties to Jane Prochaska's stages of change model. Bandura's social cognitive theory is based on self-efficacy, which is the measure of the ability to take the desired action. Self-efficacy is affected by perception of control and includes enough competence and self-confidence to act. This curriculum intends to build the participants' confidence and a sense of control based on where they are at the start of the program. If a behavior is complex, smaller, easier tasks create small successes. And the facilitators should recognize and reinforce progress as tasks or subtasks are completed. Prochaska states that people go through stages before they can create and sustain change in their lives. Everyone goes through a change process when they are trying to change unwanted habits. And so this curriculum was written in the context of the first 3 stages of change. The pre-contemplation, where someone is basically unaware; contemplation, where they are starting to think about a possible change; and then preparation on planning to do a change. So what we did was we had some focus groups and interviews with mental illness service providers and with mental illness service recipients as well. And we found that depression and anxiety are the 2 conditions that many individuals with a cognitive or intellectual disability deal with. They face challenges with basic necessities, including food, transportation, employment, housing, clothing, and personal hygiene products. Explaining concepts using step-by-step visual prompts is important, along with hands-on practice, to build skills and motivate them to believe that they can adopt the behaviors learned. Also important is identifying community resources that provide support. So this curriculum integrates into a variety of other existing programs. It starts with identifying where the individual is and works on their most pressing need or needs. And these lesson plans were developed for individuals with a cognitive disability to achieve 1 or more financial wellness goals: to manage monthly expenses and debts, to plan and save for the future, to manage credit appropriately, select and manage financial products and services, and increase their financial knowledge, to make informed decisions regarding their financial well-being, plus to identify and connect with trusted sources for advice. It uses a strategy of SMART goals. Many of you are probably familiar with SMART goals, but a brief recap. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. Every SMART goal has these attributes. It's also important for goals to be written, then to ask yourself and all who will be involved with making the goal a reality: is this goal specific? Are the results easily measurable? Will I or my family easily be able to measure if the goal has been met or not? Is the goal realistic for my current income, lifestyle, and household obligations? And does the goal have a completion date? If the answer to any of these questions is no, go back and update your goal to make sure it is as specific as possible. And on the right side of this slide, there is an action planning handout that's at the end of most of the lessons. Participants can choose to keep working on the same goal for many weeks, or they may start a new goal based on what they learned in a lesson. However, it's important that they only have 1 or 2 goals at a time to be able to focus on mastering the habit that they are changing. Each of the 12 lessons plans includes a session overview, resources to prepare you to maximize your workshop facilitation, a list of the materials you will need, and detailed presenter notes to guide you. The lesson structure is consistent and predictable for learners with developmental disabilities, from a welcome to several lecturettes and engaging activities to wrap up and the assignment. The presenter notes are also in the PowerPoint notes for each lesson. Most adults with developmental disabilities are visual learners. That is, they learn better by watching and seeing rather than by listening and hearing. The lesson plans include a variety of simple visual supports in the handouts and PowerPoints. You may think of more simple visual prompts like labels, pictures, objects, schedule of activities, directions, and other ideas to add to your learning environment. So it's time for our first poll. So thinking when you teach a class to a group, what kinds of visual prompts do you use? Over half use some pictures, objects, and a schedule of activities is also used by quite a few. So, all right, so each lesson includes between 2 to 6 activities for hands-on learning. And some ask the participant to write a few words or phrases. Others generate ideas and group discussion. Some are tools to use and apply the concepts, and others are for reference and have examples. The handouts are a collection chosen from several reliable sources, including the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Financial Empowerment Toolkit called Your Money, Your Goals. I think some of you are familiar with that. Some are from the University of Minnesota curriculum called DollarWorks 2, and a few are from the Michigan State University Extension curricula. And you will be happy to know that all of the materials are free. You can go to the website that I think somebody will put in the chat. Thank you, Samantha. And it's on the slide to find downloadable PDFs for everything you need that we will talk about today. So next, I'm going to give a quick overview of each of the lessons. The curriculum begins with the money decision section, which has 2 lessons, What's My Future and Making Good Money Decisions. These lessons help participants become aware of their own current financial management practices. Participants begin to identify their own personal strengths and weaknesses, as well as where they feel their skills are in certain areas of financial management. And the handout case study examples includes basic needs for housing, purchasing food, prescription medicine, and a cell phone. Plus, participants identify their personal goals. So here's an example of the ways I spend money handout when thinking about what makes a participant happy or what frustrates them. With a partner in the class, they list several ideas in each column. My Money Picture is a self-assessment tool that they can use to identify areas that they feel good about by putting a check mark on those boxes. And if there's areas they feel concerned about, they can circle those. Focusing on decisions about basic needs like food and housing. This decision mind map activity includes a filled out sample for the facilitator and participants to follow. It helps answer the who, when, where, why, what, and how much questions around a decision. The next section in the curriculum is the organization section. This focuses on general organization of financial and life matters. The lesson in this section around includes finding important papers, knowing what to keep or toss, cutting the clutter, and having a record-keeping system. The footprints in the sand activity talks about how people leave footprints when they walk in the sand. The waves wash away old footprints and new footprints appear. Similarly, people walk in the same paths all the time, but can change their money habits and patterns if they choose. The keep or toss activity suggests that the facilitator bring in a number of items in a grocery bag including several bills to be paid, some paid bill statements, important personal records, like a sample birth certificate, Social Security card, rental agreement, plus old income tax forms over 7 years old, some junk mail, some store advertisements, magazines, food packages, etc. And basically, when I did this, I just dumped those items all on the table in front of me, and as a group, we sorted them if they should be kept or tossed. Many participants react to the image on this slide as they are beginning to get their finances and personal records organized. The lesson encourages them to think about if there are places inside or outside their home where they would like to reduce the clutter. And then the facilitator leads a discussion on why clutter grows and encourages participants to share their experiences. And a worksheet about how to reduce clutter room by room. The next section is about savings. It includes lessons on planning to save and saving for my future. This section helps the participants identify the importance of having emergency saving funds, as well as saving for future needs and wants through special savings accounts, and also considering asset limits for those receiving public benefits like Social Security income. Participants will be able to set goals on how to accumulate savings for these purposes. One of my observations during the pilot lesson groups was few had the concept of planning ahead for emergencies and for their goals. Most live month to month, and many participants chose their SMART goals to save money for unexpected emergency expenses or something more costly that they wanted to purchase. Another activity is about identifying how much wants cost and add up to identify any spending leaks. This could be a place to change habits in order to save money for priorities. The Cutting Expenses handout is a strategy tool to analyze where to find some savings if there are spending leaks or ways to reduce or eliminate some spending. Achieving a better life experience, or ABLE accounts, are one way for those who had a significant disability that began before 26 years of age and are receiving SSI or SSDI or otherwise eligible. ABLE accounts do not affect eligibility for supplemental security income, Medicaid, or other federal means-tested benefits. Anyone can contribute to an individual's ABLE account, which was up to $15,000 in 2021. So this was a way for parents and relatives to support the disabled person after they passed away. Plans vary by state. Distributions are not taxed if they are used for qualified disability expenses, including education, housing, transportation, healthcare, and financial management. Next is a spending plan section that includes lessons on making a spending plan and managing one. These two lessons help the participants identify and document the kinds of income sources they have. Plus, they begin to track their expenses and identify changes that they may make in managing their personal finances. One of the hands-on activity is the allowance game from Iowa State Extension. The allowance game is best for those who have a payee or someone who manages most of their money and gives them a set amount of spending money each month. Another option is the Bean game from Utah State Extension, which can be found on the internet and works with those with higher cognitive abilities who independently control their spending. These spending plan lessons were intentionally placed at least 1 month after the series starts so that the participants can collect their receipts from purchases for realistic calculations of their monthly expenses for that first month. And this sample budget tool uses 2021 supplemental security income of $794 a month and guides them to fill out their own worksheet. Notice that the spending is $100 more than the income, so they must review for spending adjustments. Lesson 8 is about protecting my money. It focuses on protecting against identity theft and scams and identifying financial abuse and exploitation. With identity theft, examples of personal information and red flags are covered, as well as what victims can do to protect themselves. Individuals with developmental disabilities are at a higher risk for identity theft, financial abuse, and exploitation through fraud, scams, or when caregivers, family members, or others improperly use their financial resources. Often unreported because the victim does not know what steps to take. This worksheet helps them become aware if something may be happening and then notifying a professional to take action. The final section is called Paying My Bills and includes lessons on income and taxes, paying bills, understanding credit, and controlling debt. These 4 lessons focus on the basics of bill paying, credit reports and scores, and debt management. 2 lessons focus on the basics of where income comes from and also about filing income taxes. It also includes tools for bill paying, including the very basics of how to write a check. Many bills are paid electronically now, online, or with a debit or prepaid card, and these options are also covered. This handout about increasing income and benefits is another strategy tool to help participants think about ideas that might work for them if they do not have enough money to cover spending. Are there ways to earn money or find employment? Are they receiving all eligible public benefits and tax credits? The last 2 lessons cover credit reports and scores, as well as debt management to assist participants with an approach for communicating with creditors. Credit Myths and Facts is an interactive group quiz activity to help participants find out what they know about credit, plus correct information. It also has another strategy tool about access to affordable credit and managing credit to pay back borrowed money. Now, in the pilot groups, many participants did not have debts, especially if they have a payee or a guardian managing their finances for them. So with this lesson, once you get to know your group, decide if the credit portion is relevant to them. It does not include many, it does include many CFPB tools about having a debt log, debt affordability, bill prioritization, and dealing with debt collectors. So recall that in the first lesson, called What's My Future, it started participants thinking about their strengths and their current skills. So around the series midpoint, around lesson 7, the managing a spending plan, and then also during the last session about controlling debt, includes the activity to called Your Future, What Does It Look Like? To ask participants to share what they feel good about, what they're concerned about, their action plan progress, or what they're looking. So this, excuse me, this reflection activity can produce some powerful statements to reaffirm the participants' personal goals and to hear those of others in the group. All right, so there is a evaluation instrument to be delivered pre and then post at the beginning of all 12 lessons and also at the end. So the next I would like to help you think about facilitating these group classes some more. So and the first question is, if you've had some experience with groups of adults with developmental disabilities, or can think about any ways that you might design effective education for this audience, to type that into the chat. So define some common interest for the individuals, intentionally not adding anything to your stack of handouts. Yes. Try to keep everybody focused. That's one of the challenges with this group. Help them identify how this will make their lives better. Thank you. Offer incentives, yes, that they will come when they receive a few reinforcement items. Yes, and the activities, things to do. So partly we ask them to do them for a few minutes during the class, and then take the handouts home if they can get back to them and write down a few more things. So, okay. All right, so to being an effective facilitator, when people first arrive, it's important to make them feel comfortable and to offer assistance and accommodation for their needs. Some may prefer to sit near the facilitator so they can hear better. Some may be in a wheelchair and need certain space at the table. So think about why this is important. And Allison, this might help you be thinking about working with this group as well. So asking questions like, can you hear me? Talking about what you'll cover that day, either in a PowerPoint slide or an agenda listed somewhere on a flip chart or whatever you choose to use. Making sure that they are open to asking questions and requesting assistance or a combination, to let you know. And then asking repeatedly if there's anything you need. Can everybody see? Can I help in any way? So hopefully you can understand why these openings are very important. Okay, a few tips about communicating, and these are in the facilitator guide as well, that it's important to speak directly in simple to understand language without being patronizing, to use a normal tone of voice, to set clear and reasonable expectations, including setting ground rules, reviewing the agenda, and introducing class management techniques such as raising a hand before speaking. Also to use concrete examples rather than abstract explanations, metaphors, or expressions. To offer limited choices, no more than 2 is best. To be prepared to repeat what you say orally or in writing. So that's where having a flip chart or something available so that if it's easier to write out a few words or draw a picture or something to answer a question, that's a technique. To offer to assist completing forms or understanding written instructions, and to wait for the individual to accept the offer. And that's where the support person in the room, so if you have a volunteer or somebody else that can help you, especially with a lower cognitive group, that is very helpful. And also to choose words with dignity, use person first language. So for example, to say people with disabilities rather than the disabled, and instead of the term handicapped, to use disability. To encourage participants to do and speak for themselves and emphasize abilities and not limitations. Also in the facilitator guide, I encourage you to read that because it contains many lists and tips for your preparation. If you have the funds to purchase, as Karen suggested, small reinforcement items for participants from dollar-like stores or office supplies, there are suggestions included. Includes the pre and post survey evaluations to measure learning. Also, where to order resources and for the person who mentioned teaching a group of severely mentally ill, there's also links to 2 online training courses that I took to better understand working with this audience. All right, so another poll. After hearing this presentation, do you have a group in mind that you will use this curriculum with? So here's the results. So the majority said with a community nonprofit, and then a few responses with other groups like Extension, with the community health agency, with the older foster care youth, or schools with post-secondary youth, and also a few with diversion courts and veterans. So just rolling out this new curriculum this year, marketing plans, this group, the Extension Financial Security for All. I'm going to be doing a webinar sometime this fall with NEA FCS. I've applied to do a breakout session at the AFCPE conference in November, reaching out to the National Disability Institute, and there's another association called the American Council on Consumer Interests. So, but if you have any more ideas of who I should share this curriculum with, or if you will be sharing it with any partners or colleagues in your state. So if you can type into the chat, this is your SMART goal. your action plan of who you will share this with. And I also have purchased some postcard size printed marketing cards about the curriculum and the website that I am happy to mail to you. So if you're interested in receiving some printed copies to share with colleagues and your local partners, please email me with the quantity and your mailing address, and I will send you some. Okay, so again, here's the repeat slide about where to find this curriculum online and what it contains. And just also wanted to take the opportunity to let you know that we do offer through Michigan State University Extension our financial and homeownership team webinars that are free about various money management topics. And we also are doing a whole lot of homebuyer education through Zoom webinars. So if you're interested, our website is the MI for Michigan moneyhealth.org.